Good morning. I'm going to call the school board meeting to order. It is August 24th, 2026, 6 o'clock. If you would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance if you would like to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Bree is going to read our school board norms.
Be prepared, be on time, value and respect each other, exercise thoughtful deliberation and conversation, be professional at the board table and when visiting with the general public, speak up when the norms are not being followed, advocate on behalf of students, and keep the community in mind.
Thank you, Bree. All right, we'll start with approval of the agenda. Is there anything you want to, any corrections or additions? Are you okay with the agenda? Can I have a motion?
Move to approve the agenda.
Jay moved approval, a second. And we have a second from Jeff. And can you call the roll?
Manley?
Yes.
Lunn?
Yes.
Clevin?
Yes.
Hall?
Yes.
Adams?
Yes.
Dunnigan?
Yes.
Kramer?
Yes.
Flynn?
Yes.
Baki?
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no, 0 absent.
This is the time in the meeting when it's time for public comment. Has anyone turned in any slips? Is there anybody in the audience that wanted to speak? Doesn't look like it, so we will move on. Okay. Superintendent recommendations for discussion. The first thing is the discussion of the North Dakota School Boards Association training that will be in Bismarck in October. Dr. Brenner.
Thank you, Madam President. You have a memo from me. And most importantly, anybody who is a new board member this year, and I believe we have 5, would be required to attend the new member Learning to Lead workshop. That's on October 8th from 8 in the morning to 2:15 in the afternoon. Everything beyond that is optional, although there's certainly encouragement to attend the entire convention. I think you would find it well worth your time since you're in Bismarck already. So Superintendent's Office will handle all the registration, and when I say that, that's Cindy Johnson. Mileage and non-provided meals are going to be reimbursed to board members in accordance with state law in the business office procedure. So if you are planning to go, 5 new board members for sure, but if any others are planning on attending, please notify Cindy by Thursday of this week for your attendance and your plans, and she'll make arrangements to get those things finalized.
I did talk briefly to Cindy, and she said to wait until she gets all the registration and everything in, and then who's ever attending, we can get together and kind of work out the carpooling and when we want to go and, you know, that sort of thing. So we save the district as much expense as possible. Moving on to the next agenda item, the Encore program update. Mr. Triggs.
Yeah, I'd like to introduce you to our program director, Mrs. Kristen Vetch. It's been a pleasure getting to know her and her passion for this programming, so I told her I would actually present with her. So.
Turn on the mic, please.
Thank you.
So my name's Kristen Vetch. I've been a part of the district this will be the start of my 18th year. I started as a para, then I joined the Encore program about 10 years ago, and I ran the Phoenix site. The last 4 years I served as the assistant director, and now I am the director of the program. There's a quick overview of Encore. It serves all 10 elementary schools, providing consistent high-quality program and support across the district. Additionally, we offer services to meet the needs of students, families, and staff throughout the year by providing these additional services. We do June Encore. During the month of June, Encore provides afternoon childcare for students following the summer school schedule, helping families maintain reliable care as the school day ends. We also do teacher PD Encore, so August, Encore provides childcare during professional development days. The service supports teachers who may not need childcare during the summer, but need additional support when teachers return for professional development days. And then we help with early release. Encore manages registration for early release days, and our site coordinators oversee attendance, ensure students are safely supervised with school day paras, and organize engaging activities throughout the afternoon. Together, these programs allow Encore to provide flexible support for students, families, and school staff. And then just a little bit about Encore. It is an academically based after-school program that supports and extends students' learning beyond the school day. Our activities align with the Common Core standards and complement the instruction students receive during the school day. We collaborate closely with school day staff and reinforce classroom learning and provide students with additional opportunities to practice and apply important skills. In addition to academic enrichment, Encore offers a well-rounded experience including snack, recess, reading, socialization, and dedicated homework time. Each Encore site will host 2 family fun nights each year. These events will give families opportunities to connect, engage with the program, and celebrate their students' learning and accomplishments together. Then just a quick synopsis of the students we served last year at our Title I schools. Full pay families, we had 251, reduced was 41, and free were 262 families. Out of those families, scholarship and foster were 71, McKinney-Vento was 4, and a 506 program served 23 students. And our non-Title I schools, full pay was 104, reduced was 6, and free was 40, and out of those families, scholarship and foster was 13, McKinney-Vento 1, and 506 was 4. And then this is quick overlook as of last week, what our numbers looked like for enrollment this year. We have our Title I schools and our non-Title I schools, and that number has changed daily since we put this together. And then we have our Encore fees, and it's a sliding scale based on our family's free and reduced lunch program. And then this year we increased to it used to end at 3+ students, and then we just increased to 4+. And then, I'll take that part.
Yeah, I get to talk about why the fees, but you know, in case you notice, there are different fees for Title I versus non-Title, and really that is to make sure we're providing support for those families that do need it, that have lower income. So that's why there's a different fee structure. There also, when you did research, they are better than comparable daycares. So you did. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
So just for a quick example, one of the daycares I called was $122 per week per child. And so if you had 2 children, you paid $122 for each child. So that would bring about $488 per week. And if you go to our Encore program, it's $250 per month. So and that's just one of the examples. We were pretty comparable. We were lower than all and comparable to 1 out of the 6 schools or 6 daycares that I called.
So some of you probably know we did not receive a grant for this upcoming program and would not be eligible till 2030. Yep, for that same grant, but we obviously would continue to explore options to help supplement that, because that is the general fund impact. According to Ryan, we've had that conversation that is actually lower than it was. Is that correct, Ryan? In past years.
And that's all I have if you have any questions.
Thank you. My question, Encore now goes after school to what time?
We go until 5:30.
5:30, so it's just basically work hours then?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have questions? Jeff?
I see a lot on the wait list. Is that due to space limitations or staffing limitations?
It's both. It's just depends on what site you're looking at. But as we hire more staff, then site coordinators will take more kids off the waiting list.
A follow-up to that question, do you anticipate that you'll be able to provide service for all the kids on the wait list once we get all our numbers settled?
Not all, just because some sites we only have certain spaces that we can use, so then it wouldn't be safe to take all of them at one time.
Thank you.
But we
Anyone
take
else?
as many as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you. Elise?
Looking at the fees between the Title I schools and non-Title I, I guess I'm just looking for the rationale behind, like, if they're both paying full lunch fees, why there's still a difference? Is it like the title money that's coming in?
So when we had the grant, Discovery and Kelly were not eligible to be a part of that grant, and so that's why their fee structure is different, because their fees had to cover all the staffing expenses.
But now we don't have the grant, but the cost still stays different? Like, would we need to raise the cost of the title schools perhaps, or?
We wouldn't want to increase where they're at right now, they will cover the expenses for this year.
Okay.
Makes sense.
I mean, with that rationale too, I'm just looking at the equity between the two. If, like, for say, people are getting paying the full lunch, which implies that they are not, on the reduced and free, and so why would there be a difference, I guess is my question.
You want me to answer? I think that's a fair question. I guess that's the structure that they started with Grant. And, and your Title I schools are all school-wide schools, so they do receive a lot more federal funding. And we actually, those are two of the sites that we actually pull a positive balance out of, to be honest. I think that's the only two. Yeah.
I'm just wondering, why didn't we get the grant for this year? Do we know? Was it just not available, or?
Well, the past year, before you came on, it wasn't submitted in time. So.
Okay, thank you. Amber?
I have a couple questions, but first a comment. I have had, all my kids have gone through the Encore program, and it's been a very well-run program from the perspective that we've had. They have lots of fun. They read. The texting system works really great. And so previously, when it was open till 6, that was also good, but I think 5:30 is even later than some daycares and things as well. And so kudos to the Encore staff, especially as it changed throughout the years, and we used to have YMCA and things like that. I was hoping you could help break down the general fund balance, because I think it would be important for this board to know what we've also instituted in the last couple of years that we haven't had. And so summer school is newer, and then the offering of Encore with summer school. So can you talk a little bit about if the fee for summer school also covers a little bit of Encore, or if that's something that the district provides for those students who go to summer school?
So I can speak about last summer for June of 2025. Our fees were completely covered by the fees. So we didn't take any money from the general fund for that.
From summer school?
Right, for summer Encore. Yep.
Okay. And then how about the PD and early release days? Because that was also another commitment that this board made, especially for early release days, when we changed the calendar and parents were like, oh my gosh, how am I going to pick up my kids from at 1:30? That was something this board committed to. So can you talk about that too?
So for early release, it's our site coordinators are there, and then the pairs that work during the day staff it. So there's no additional coverage. I can't speak to what that costs the district but on a site-by-site basis, but nothing has changed from when it started.
Great. And then PD has been pretty standard?
PD is pretty standard. It's newer. It's just for the teachers or anybody that works in the district that needs childcare for those 6 days. And then the fees, I haven't done a breakdown on it, but it was decided that it is beneficial enough to have it regardless.
Okay. Mr. Triggs, I appreciate the transparency about the grant, maybe not being submitted on time. I think as we continue as a board to look at efficiencies, certainly having a grant writer on staff has been something this board has talked about, and how do we weigh that cost, but how can we write some of those things in? And certainly everyone's busy managing programs, and sometimes the extra grants slip through the cracks, which it probably shouldn't have, but it happened. And I think it's nice for this board to be aware of that. I think I share Ms. Dunnigan's perspective of, if that grant isn't there, how do we sort of right size it? But you also don't want to spook those families who are used to, certain costs. And I think as a new program director, it's nice to be aware of just some of the different changes and things like that. So, kudos to you for running the program, being transparent. I would offer maybe just one perspective from a parent. I am happy to pay the cost. I know some people struggle with that. One of the things that I've always wondered, though, are like in May, a lot of the people who do work are UND students. So we don't do a full month in May. And then like December, especially if we get out of school early, sometimes we don't do 2 full weeks in December, but the cost for the entire month is the same. And so I'm curious, as we're looking at Encore, I'm not saying that we shouldn't ask for more money, but I think to reduce a burden on some families, there might be some months that are full for childcare, and then other months where there isn't. So I'm just thinking about a proration of some sort.
And I know in the past when there has been a few years ago when there was a longer Christmas break because UND was gone, we did offer a discount to parents if they didn't need to utilize the program. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely something we can keep in the back of our mind.
Yeah. Thank you.
Then I did have staff go longer this year into May. With the help of high school students, we can hopefully run programming closer to the end of the school year for families.
I have one question relative to the grant. I noticed that the impact on the general fund balance is $213,000. What was the amount of the grant that we would have gotten?
I don't have that information.
Do you know? Okay. Do you know, Dr. Brenner, what it was?
I don't have the actual number, no.
Okay. I was just
We
wondering.
can look into that and bring that back to the board.
I was just, they're moving the table on me. I was just curious as to, if this 213,000 is covering it, or if the grant would have given us more money to deal with this. I'm just curious as to what the difference was. And you said it's not available again to 2030. Is that just because it's a 5-year grant, or is that the reason? Okay. And you can't apply in those interim years?
No, I called to verify and they said we couldn't apply again until 2030.
Okay, thank you. Mary? Oh, I'm sorry, Mary.
My question is, I just want to commend you, but if I did the math right, you're serving over 800 kids with the Encore program after school. That's amazing. Thank you so much for that program.
Eric?
I just think maybe internally you all should look at philosophically how do we do this. 213,000 after what we've gone through the last few years with budget reductions is not a minor amount. And I mean, we've had to increase. We had to start charging for busing again. I just think not for this year. Clearly, this year is set, but I think internally administration might want to look at this and figure out philosophically where do you want to sit, and then get the board involved at some point. I think it's a great program, and I'm not suggesting we necessarily do anything. I just think we should have that discussion. We spent hours and hours and hours going over budget reductions last year, not just us, but 200 plus other employees of the school district. I think this should probably be factor in that, so that philosophically, where do we go with this? And maybe the final answer is we're willing to take that amount out of general fund and support this, or maybe it's that, well, do we need to increase fees or something else?
Elise?
Sorry. Back to the teacher PD days, are those then supported during full contract hours, 8 to 4? Okay, I had
We
heard
do
today,
7:30 to 4:30 to allow for
okay,
pickup and drop off.
I heard today that maybe it wasn't.
Today they closed early because our site
Okay.
coordinators are at open house as well. So then we close early, let the site coordinators go to the school and help out with assisting, setting up and stuff like that.
Do you know then if there's a, like, administrative policy that the teachers can have their children, like, in their classrooms for clerical time? Because that can be really disruptive to a parent.
We would not encourage that.
And all the parents that have utilized that program have not had any issues, or not voiced any issues, I guess I should say.
Right.
In the past, wasn't the Encore run through the, the YMCA? Is this now totally a district program?
The YMCA ran MASH at Kelly and Discovery.
You're right. My mistake, thank you. Any other questions? Bree?
For my knowledge, has Encore ever run a before-school program or anything similar to that?
We did a little bit at the middle school level, but it wasn't very well attended. So they discontinued that.
Was there ever any attempts to do it at the elementary school level?
We haven't done it at the elementary school because so many elementary schools have their own programs in place.
I believe that at most of the elementary schools, they have breakfast, and they can be in there. And I know several of the elementary schools, after they've had breakfast, they have a para or someone who does like a story hour, and the kids will all go and listen to a story or two. I know that several of the schools I've been involved in have had that. So
They
they
also
kind of
have,
take
like-
care of those morning hours.
Yeah, and then for the older kids in the morning, at the school I was at, they went into the gym before school. And that would utilize all the spaces that Encore uses.
Any other questions? I just really appreciate you coming, and we appreciate the Encore services, and you're doing a great job, and stay with it. And we'll see what we can do about getting you some money.
Thank you, guys.
I want to add one thing about just watching how many times she'll meet with families and work on scholarships, trying to help accommodate families that really need it. I really appreciate that about her. She has a good heart and does balance that, obviously. You know, you have to meet her criteria, but I appreciate that a lot about her, so.
Which brings up another question, I'm sorry. The staff for Encore, is that paid, is that kind of a wash between what we charge parents and what the salaries and benefits are for those people that work in Encore?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Discovery and Kelly, it does, but not for the Title I schools.
So is that included on the impact in the general fund, this $213,000? Okay, thank you. Okay. I don't believe there was any action we needed to take on that. That was just a discussion. And now we'll go to the discussion on the school board guiding changes document. And Dr. Brenner.
Thank you. And thanks to Carter and the Grand Forks Herald for the headline this morning. Created quite a conversation. The two Chris's and I were on KNOX today, so that took up a bulk of our conversation when people just wanted to know more about what this guiding change document was. So I'm just, because we're archiving our meetings, I'm going to go through this memo so we have some historical reference. This document was developed during the 2021-22 school year through several work sessions involving the board serving at the time, and we still have board members Flynn, Lunn, and who am I missing? Jeff Manley. I'm sorry, the quiet one over here. I'm so sorry, Jeff. I was just going to roll off my tongue, and it didn't. So my apologies for that. The document was created to establish shared financial parameters and guide the district toward a sustainable general fund balance, including an aspirational goal of maintaining a fund balance equal to 15% of the district's annual budget. Let me just pause right there because I have to provide a little more context to how we got to where we're at today. Some of you have heard this, maybe not all. when I was superintendent in 2018. Between 2018 and 2021, we spent $11.5 million out of our general fund, because our building fund was only 10 mils at the time and couldn't afford to pay for the catastrophic failures that we're having with boilers across the district. And then plus we replaced 2 relocatables at Viking Elementary School. So again, we're using general fund, which should have been a building fund thing, but we used to have 20 mils. The extra 10 mils were taken away from us. So then in 2021, we brought to the voters this concept of, hey, would you support us increasing our 10 mils to 20? And that actually passed in September of 2021. So while we're maintaining and building our building fund back up and it's stable with its reserves, the truth of the matter is we took so much of it out of our general fund that it's been really difficult to claw back out of that hole that was created. So now I'll go to the second paragraph. Since we did that work, the financial environment has changed considerably since the document was developed. Over the 2 most recent negotiating cycles, 2023 and 2025, this is not an indictment about anybody. This was board supported, administrative supported. We were seeing an exodus of teachers leaving the profession, and we knew that we weren't even competing compensation-wise, even in our own region as far as paying staff. So we increased compensation by approximately 19% over 4 years. And again, it reflects the board's commitment to attracting and retaining high-quality staff, which is part of our strategic plan, through competitive compensation packages that also includes 6 weeks of paid parental leave. The commitment remains essential to the district's ability to provide strong educational opportunities for students. At the same time, the revenue available to support these expenditures has not kept pace. State foundation aid formula, coupled with a 3% property tax cap imposed on the district, restricts the growth of our 2 principal revenue streams. And approximately 85% of our expenditures are personnel related, leaving limited flexibility elsewhere in the budget. Additionally, we experience approximately $1 million loss in delinquent property taxes each year, further affecting available cash flow and contributing to what has become a perfect budgetary storm. So with general fund budget of approximately $134 million, achieving a 15% fund balance would require reserves of approximately $20.1 million. While maintaining an adequate and sustainable fund balance remains critically important, reaching the current 15% target is unrealistic under the district's present financial conditions. Again, when we did this work in 21-22, it made sense. Today, it's quite the challenge. So the goal remains aspirational, but it's not reasonably attainable without significant changes to revenues, expenditures, or both. So for these reasons, I believe it's appropriate for the board to revisit the guiding change document that you have in front of you and consider whether its financial assumptions, targets, and timelines should be amended to reflect the district's current fiscal realities. Revisiting the document would not diminish the board's commitment to responsible financial stewardship. Rather, it would ensure that the guidance remains credible, achievable, and useful in supporting future budget decisions. So I would recommend, as superintendent, that the board schedule a work session or sessions dedicated to reviewing the guiding change document and considering appropriate amendments. For tonight's purposes, no formal action is requested. The goal is to discuss the matter and determine a mutually agreeable path forward. But before the board gets into discussion, I want to take you through the guiding change document that you have in front of you. And again, my apologies for our 3 board members who went through this process and spent between 8 and 10 hours getting to this table. So we started this with the current reality of the why. And at the time, and I actually have updates for several of these bullets in this document. Buildings are not optimal for teaching and learning. Facilities are inadequate, not up to current building code, ADA compliance, or meeting other federal requirements. Truth of the matter is, we've done a lot of work since 2021 in really investing and reinvesting in our facilities. Because we were able to pass the extra 10 mils in 2021, we took $1 million of that new $2.5 or $2.6 million, and we bonded that over 20 years to generate a little north of $14 million, so we could reinvest in all of our campuses to try to put to bed the 40-year conversation about no air conditioning across all of our campuses. My disclaimer is, Brady's sitting at the table, the whole music wing at Schrader Middle School is not air conditioned yet. The 6th grade wing is not air conditioned yet. And we certainly have some gymnasiums that don't have air conditioning. But that would be one of the the final pieces, and then the new twining on the base will be fully air-conditioned. Valley has taken care of itself. So we've made a lot of movement, and then further, with the referendum that passed in 2023 for the new Valley Middle School, $18 million in safety and security, along with centralizing our kitchen here. All of that is not hitting the general fund, doesn't hit the building fund, because that was a referendum. So that's dollars dedicated to that work. So our facilities, by and large, are in pretty good shape right now. I said on the radio this morning, you're not going to hear us talk about deferred maintenance anymore because we have a plan in place. We have a 5-year plan, we have a 10-year plan, and we're reinvesting the building fund dollars that come in at $2.5, $2.6 million a year. Actually, it's north of $5 million, but 10 of those mills were already dedicated to projects like Discovery, the Red River Performance Hall, the remodeling of Central's Theater, and the upgrade at Cushman Track and Field. So we're no longer using general fund dollars for any of those investments. And further with the building fund, before Jonathan Elwine left, he put together a plan. It's called SLICE. It's an acronym for 5 words that I can't think of right now. But it's rotating basically about every 3 years to each principal. Here's an allocation to your building out of the building fund, and you use it how you see fit, whether that's new carpeting, new paint, new whatever, or upgrading something. Principals have skin in the game to make those decisions about their buildings. Already talked about the mill levy and the property taxes. We've taken care of that, and challenging to attract and retain adequate staff. I believe we've been able to do a better job with the compensation that we have been providing for our 1,700 people who are on payroll. The unacceptable means, the not how to do this work, we didn't want to expend below 7% in the general fund balance, and Ryan will be able to talk about that when he does his finance update for you, because it's actually lower than 7% right now. We have not violated any laws or regulations or contracts, but you will hear when Brady Martz does the audit of our school district, they will share with us, there's no law that's been broken, but they'll share with us that you're well below where we would like to see your ending fund balance. They would say 15%. I think some of us would be comfortable with 10%. But we have work to do to get back to that. We won't inequitably fund student needs, including student services and programs, and we certainly won't eliminate key tenets of our strategic plan. Actually, we've gone from 3 big buckets to 4 buckets in our strategic plan. And we won't ignore available funding sources. So when the headline read in the Herald today about a budgetary perfect storm, this is a perfect storm for the school district, and not just for Grand Forks, but across our state and really across the country. And I've attached a couple of articles to Friday Focus that really talks about the challenges that school boards and superintendents are having with budgets. And so, with that, we want to create a path forward. We want the board to be really engaged in that process, because the board was certainly engaged in the $4.4 million budget realignment process. Now I'll go to the right-hand column, the results, and I promise not to repeat anything that I've already stated. We want to make sure that we're aligning our budget and long-range financial plan with our strategic plan, and we can demonstrate that, and we can prove that we're putting our resources behind the work that we said that we're going to do in the strategic plan. Already talked about the third bullet, providing competitive compensation and benefits. We're optimizing staffing levels to student needs. I think you're all aware that we have a new special ed paraprofessional allocation formula that has gone out to the principals and special ed teams. Probably hasn't met, it hasn't been met with quiet resistance, but certainly there were some concerns, but we're working through those with our principals and with our special ed team leaders, and we believe we're going to come out well on the other side. And one of the things that I've said at this table, and I've said publicly, we employ more adults per student than any of the other large school districts. So now we're getting closer to where the Bismarcks and the Fargos and the West Fargos are from a staffing ratio. Increased student achievement for all with a deliberate focus, eliminating opportunity gaps based on race, ethnicity, and socioeconomic status. And we have our literacy and our math goals. We have our Native American graduation rate goal. And you'll see when schools under Celebrating Success come to the microphone, every other board meeting, you'll see that progress is being made in those 3 areas. Students receiving special education support are served in an environment that's safe, inclusive, and meets their unique learning and social emotional needs. I talked a little bit about that with our new staffing allocation. And again, we'll work through extenuating circumstances. If principals or special ed teams have concerns, they know the proper avenue to go through to get to this building, and then we'll review those on a as-needed basis. And then the third to the last bullet, fund long-term facilities plan that increases efficiencies. I believe we're there. And achieve a sustainable fund balance with an adequate general fund balance of 15%, and that's our challenge. And then our final bullet in that column, ensure that student achievement results drive the design and influence allocation of resources in the budget, and that has to do with our high reliability schools work. That's a framework that focuses on school building, culture, collaboration, highly effective teaching in every classroom. Level 3 would be guaranteed and viable curriculum. 4 would be standards referenced or standards-based reporting, and then level 5 would be mastery learning for all. So that's a ladder that we're climbing, and we're aligning that within our strategic plan. So I will stop there. I just wanted to provide a little more context before the board has a conversation to either say, yes, I think we need to have a work session or sessions and decide what would be an appropriate ending fund balance, or even the conversation we had earlier about Encore. You see how that's hitting the general fund. Some other opportunities that might be in front of us moving forward.
Thank you for that explanation. Out of curiosity, what is our general fund balance right now?
As you'll see in my upcoming memo at the end of July 31st, the ending fund balance was roughly $120,000.
What percentage is that?
Less than 1%.
Thank you. Any questions? Eric?
Brian, I wonder if you could just go through from an accounting standpoint, why we have to have an ending fund balance as far as timing of how the revenues come in, how the expenditures go out, and what happens if, and maybe you want to wait till this monthly report and we can see that little negative dip there. That might explain a lot, but just maybe put it in context for people.
Yes, so I'll explain it more later, but essentially we have a big dip in May as we pay out teachers for the summer months, and then we seek reimbursement. A lot of those salaries are funded by federal sources, and so those are spend and seek reimbursement, and so that's why you see the dip down in May and then come back up positive in June. Another thing is we want to ensure that we don't get state aid payments until August. And so our ending fund balance needs to carry us through the month of July while we still have people working through the summer and all other expenses that happen during the month of July. We receive a lot of property taxes at the first quarter of the calendar year. And so as we maintain a balance, a positive balance through that, it carries us through the summer months.
Yes.
Just a quick follow-up. What happens if we run out of money? We don't have any cash, and we have payroll and stuff to make. What do we do in that circumstance?
Yes, so hopefully we don't have to go through that, but there comes terms of needing to borrow more money. The state limits us on how much we can borrow. I don't know that number off the top of my head. The other factor is that the state DPI will step in to perform an audit, and I believe they'll take some ownership of turning around the district financially. These are assumptions. I haven't looked fully into it, but yes, it's roughly, that's the idea.
Dr. Brenner?
I don't want to minimize the alarmist here, because we all need to be alarmed when you said 120,000. It was just within the next 24, 48 hours, then our state foundation aid payment came in. So then we're sitting at 3.5 million. So it was just that 24 hours where I walked down to Ryan's office and said, was there a possibility that we were going to get a delinquent notice from one of our financial institutions? And the answer was no, because we have other investments that are within those institutions. We have other categories. We have our building fund that we can't use for the general fund, but nonetheless, the money is in the bank. We have our Blue Cross Blue Shield self-funded insurance fund. We have child nutrition. So there is money in the bank. It's just how it's allocated and how it's not allocated. But again, I'm not trying to minimize the danger that we're in.
Anyone else have questions? Amber?
I just wanted to echo that I think we had some really good discussions when we were putting together the guiding change document. I think it got to a point where we were really good at saying, yep, we can't do this because it goes against what we said, but we got to a point where we had to make some decisions and we started kind of bending the rule a little bit. And so I think revisiting the guiding change document would be important. I also just want to highlight that part of the reason why we had those discussions, especially coming out of COVID, was because there is a significant impact on inflationary constraints for families in our district. And we're aware of that. And that means that there's inflationary constraints to our staff that work in the district and their pay. And, we've really tried to look at some of those things, at how we can make the experience better for our staff and families. And so I think just acknowledging that that's always going to be a real battle is us trying to financially sustain an operation. And also the other truth to that is that families and staff could be struggling in a variety of ways financially as well. And so it's not easy, but I do think revisiting that conversation, especially because we have consistently done well in some of those areas, that it would be time to revisit the guiding change document and go through that exercise again.
Thank you, Amber. Anyone else? What are your feelings about having a work session to look at this document? Eric?
I agree with Amber, and I think it's time to have some good discussions about it.
Anyone else?
There's just factual misstatements now that are no longer true. So we have to update this.
I'm also of the opinion that I would rather do this now rather than at the end of the year have this, we're in trouble and have to make some tough decisions. If we can look at it now, at least we're being proactive and getting ahead of it a little bit. So I would have no problem with our meeting over that. How about other people? I guess what I'm kind of getting, Amber.
I just had one more comment about, I think one of the things that would be really important to revisit during this time is working together with our financial or our facilities plan. And I think it's my opinion that administration should start working towards options about possible consolidations and efficiencies within schools, because I think that should be a part of, just as there was interwoven a lot of facilities conversations in that. But that will take some time, and I think it's important as a data set for us to hear when we're talking about the guiding change document.
Good input. Anybody else? Am I kind of hearing from people that you're okay with meeting, going over this document and kind of doing some hard thinking about where we want to go as far as our ending fund balance and our financial situation? Is there anybody that would be object to doing that? I'm not hearing that we have any objections. You will go ahead and set a work session up and we'll proceed. Okay. Thank you. Next on our agenda is the superintendent's recommendation for actions. before us is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we had meetings and teacher appointments and consideration of third-party requests for access to student information. Is there anything anybody wanted to pull off the consent agenda? I haven't heard that anyone has anything to pull off. Therefore, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? From Amber, moved. Is there a second by Clevin? Anybody else? Any discussion? Yes, Eric.
Just a point of order. I think if somebody wants to take something off the consent agenda, it should be done before we approve the agenda, not at this stage of
That's right.
the meeting. It should be at the beginning before the agenda gets approved, just for future
Yes.
reference.
You're right. It should be done then. Can you take the roll?
Flynn, Manley, Lund,
Yes.
Clevin,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Adams. Dunnigan,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Baki,
Yes?
9 yes, 0 no, 0 absent.
The final thing on our agenda is consideration of the general fund financial statement. Ryan, you're on deck.
Thank you, President Backey. As you can see in the memo here, I'll just summarize it and go through the documents as well. For the first month of fiscal year 2026-27, the general fund revenues were $179,025, and the total general fund expenditures were $3,552,439, resulting in expenses over revenue of $3,373,414. Administrative recommendation is to approve the general fund financial statement for the period of July 1, 2026 through July 31st, 2026. As we scroll through the documents here, the first supporting document is going to be your general fund financial statement showing that preliminary budget that you board approved a month ago or so, and then related to that are the expenditures in those categories as well. You'll see the summary of revenues and expenditures at the top, and then as you scroll through the document, you will see details as to those items as well. As you finish up on page 4 here, you'll see the general fund financial statement year-over-year comparison. On the left column here, we'll show the current fiscal year. The next column over will show last fiscal year in terms of comparison. The one note that I have there for you, similar to what Dr. Brenner brought up, last year we received our first state foundation aid payment on July 31st or by July 31st. And so that's that $7.9 million you see right there. We received our first foundation aid payment this year on Monday, August 3rd. It's a timing thing on whenever DPI wants to send that payment over. Again, it's the same layout, giving you a summary of the revenues, your local, state, federal sources, your expenditures, salaries, fringe, others. And then as you scroll through the document, again, you will see each of those sections broken out into different subcategories for you. Lastly, when we get to the graphs, just showing you year-over-year comparison on where we're at in terms of revenues, expenditures, and fund balance. The revenues for a budget of 130, I'm not going to remember off the top of my head. I apologize. Revenues of roughly 180,000 are not going to show. I think it's 0.1% of the revenue budget that we have received through July. So that's going to be hard to see on this graph here. You have your expenditures are roughly, I think, 2.6% of the budget. And then, as I mentioned before, the fund balance is sitting at 120,000. And the other note that I'll show here, which Dr. Lund brought up earlier, you can see the in FY 25-26, those blue bars on the last graph there, you can see the fund balance and how it flows. And as I stated before, May is a generally expensive month for us as we pay out teacher contracts. Teachers are offered either to receive their salaries across 10 paychecks or 12 paychecks. What that comes down to is teachers receiving 10 paychecks per year will receive 2 in May, and teachers receiving 12 paychecks will receive 4 in May. And so that is a large cost to the district. As I mentioned before, there are teachers and other expenses that are reimbursed federally. So we do seek reimbursement and receive that back as of June. So you see those funds coming back in as well. One last note, when we talk about fund balance and cash balance, those are two different accounting metrics. And so us, along with many other school districts, will pool funds together to have cash available in the bank, and that is what we do. So when we see a negative balance in May, we do not have a negative bank account balance. We just have a negative fund balance.
So we're not overdrawn.
No, we are not.
I asked Ryan this earlier. I did notice under gas and oil, under other expenses, and it shows that we've spent 20% of our budget already on gas and oil. Our total budget is $48,000, and we've spent 10, and we're not totally sure what that is. You're going to look into that?
Yes, so I quickly looked into that. I see that this past month of July is extraordinarily large to other months. So I will look into that, but I don't have an answer for you as to why that is. But it is rather larger compared to the previous years, yes.
That percentage just kind of caught my eye, and I thought that was pretty high. Now, above that, there's 71% of the budget on service agreements. I get that because you pay for one time a year for the whole year. That makes sense. But I was just wondering why we had spent almost a fourth of our budget for gas and oil in 1 month's time. That seemed pretty high. So I'd appreciate kind of just knowing what that was about. Are there any other questions for Ryan on the financial statement? Eric?
I agree with everybody else. I don't think the sky is falling. But I also can tell you in 27 years, I don't think I've ever seen an ending fund balance that's below zero. So it doesn't happen very often. I think it should be a shot across our bow to say we've got to do something about that.
I remember when I first started working with the GFPS and in that capacity, we were always saying, well, your fund balance is too high, your fund balance is too high, bring it down, bring it down. And now it's not high enough. So, and I think that's speaking just to the general situation we have in our country and in our state, where, you know, there's just a lot of federal money that's not coming in. There's a lot of state money that's not going out, and I think it's creating some problems for a lot of school districts, not just ours. Yes, Amber?
I don't expect you to have the answer to this question, but maybe doing some research. I know that the city has a policy where developers and residential taxpayers, if they don't pay their taxes, they sort of have 3 years to sort of back pay. And there is a penalty with that. But I'm curious, because it does impact the other political subdivisions, if those political subdivisions, when that tax is paid, do we get a part of the penalty cost as well? Or is that penalty cost only go to the city? Because it impacts us, and it's a city policy, so one might think, well, we should reap a little bit of the penalty fee back to us as well. So I'm curious if you know the answer to that or not.
Thank you. I do not know the answer. I do know that we do receive some of the, we'll say like this fiscal year's property taxes. In addition to those, we do receive a small portion of delinquent taxes, like you said, over the past 3 years. Some of those funds will come in as well.
If you could check on
Yes.
who gets the penalty, because I think it's like a 3% fee every year of the balance, so.
Yeah, I can look into that for you.
Good catch. Yeah, Jay?
Thank you. Ryan, on page 7 of 10, which would be the first page of the general fund financial statement year to year. Looking at section A, salaries, the current year actual is a lot more than the previous year. It seems more than simple timing issues, but could you explain why the great variance year on year?
Yes, thank you. So I know that we have, and I'm not going to know specific numbers, so I'll try to keep it vague. I know we have increased summer school costs. We have increased enrollees in that, so you're going to see an increase in paras and teachers assisting kids in that aspect. I think we had increase in, oh shoot, came in just as fast as it went out. I know in looking at this as well, because it caught my attention, there's increased cost in the Infinite Campus project that has come across as well. Now, that's not going to get you to 300,000 with the difference there, but I will attribute the 300,000 to multiple, call it nickeling and diming, to get there, if that makes sense to you. You have the increased capital or Infinite Campus costs, you have increased summer school, you have the natural increase on salaries as well. And then I'm sure there's going to be a couple other things that can add up to that as well.
This report is effectively 1 month, correct?
Yes.
Okay. But again, it just, I understand that, and most of the time these wide variances are simply timing. So I'll just kind of take a closer look next month, and hopefully that variance smooths itself out. So, thank you.
Jay, was the one you're looking at where it's the actual budget was 622 this year, where last year it was 354, is that what you're referring to?
Correct, and I don't think
Yeah.
that's a budget number, that's a year-to-date expense value, correct?
That's actually
Ryan?
paid.
Yeah.
So you're looking on page 7 there at the top, right?
It would be Section A salaries, primarily paras and classified
Yep.
staff.
Yep. Yep. So you like I said, you'd see the increase in paras and the increase in IT staff as they work through this Infinite Campus project.
Yeah, Dr. Brenner has a comment.
Yep, IT manager Darren King has secured a grant. It's about $185,000. It's reimbursable, so some of these expenses will be drawn down once we get the reimbursement from DPI. Sorry if I spoke out of turn, Ryan. Correct me.
No, just a wording difference there. They won't be drawn down. Like, we'll seek reimbursement, and so you'll see the revenue increase.
Is summer school, they receive paychecks how frequently during summer school? Could some of this just be that all the summer school salaries came out this month, were paid out this month?
Yes, so forgive me if I'm wrong on the summer school dates, but they will run in June and July. And they are paid biweekly. So every 2 months, or excuse me, every 2 weeks, yes.
So that may impact this, but not that much.
I think it's a portion for the difference, for the change. I don't think it's everything.
Because even the sub amount there has doubled from actual to last year to actual this year. That it just, the professional staff didn't change that much, but it's the para classified and then the subs. So it's just, like Jay said, we'll just have to look and see if it kind of evens itself out next month. Anybody else? Any comments? Girls, do you have anything you want to ask? Are the numbers swimming in your head? Hang with us, it won't always be this boring, okay? All right, anything else? Yes, Eric.
I would make a motion, we approve the report as presented.
Eric has made a motion to approve the report. Is there a second? I saw Mary first, so I'll go with Mary seconded. Any other discussion? Hearing none, can you call a roll call vote, please?
Dunnigan,
Yes.
Kramer,
Yes.
Flynn. Manley. Lund. Kleben,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Adams. Baki,
Yes.
9 yes, 0 no, 0 absent.
Thank you, Ryan, for your work on that. Next on the agenda is any announcements. Does anybody have any announcements? Seeing none. Board requests for future consideration? Yes, Amber.
I don't know how well this fits, but given the county commission's decision about the pilot, there's a slight addition to their yes vote with the amended development agreement. I think there were some questions and answers back and forth of they didn't really need to do that. It was kind of just an ask. So I don't know if it needs to come back to us, but thought I'd ask. Not appropriate to respond. I know that, but if it comes back, it comes back.
I'm not really sure. I haven't heard that they want us to revote. What the county commission asked is that after 5 years, they review the pilot, and instead of waiting till 10 years. So they would do a review at 5 and a review at 10 and a review at 15. But I would guess that it has to go before the city council before they would tell us whether we need to revote or not. But we certainly will keep our finger on that. Any other comments? Jay? Elise?
Dr. Brennan, you talked about the new para allocation. I was wondering if we could hear updates on that at the next meeting, like how the budget has changed, hopefully in a positive way. Just confirmation that IEPs are all being followed and any feedback we have from teachers that it is or is not working, I guess.
On that note, I would like to just know what this formula is and what it looks like. Jay?
Thank you. At our last meeting, there was a question about transportation costs that needed follow-up. So just a reminder that that's still an open question, to our understanding at least. Thank you.
Are you thinking in terms of the question that one of our audience members had?
That's correct.
I believe that Mr. Triggs met with her and straightened that out. Okay, but maybe just, is there anything we need to let the general public know? If she had a question, maybe others do?
Just a point of order. We're not really supposed to discuss anything
Yeah.
at this point, so perhaps a Friday focus or something. I think in general, the question was, if someone uses it one time, is it a full payment? So, Yeah.
To the point of order, I'm not asking for debate now.
Yeah.
It's an agenda item for a future meeting, so we can state these in public and get the information shared.
I think that's, would you
We'll
mind
come
doing
from,
that?
yeah, we'll answer some of those questions next board meeting.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anything else for a future board meeting? Eric?
No, but just to confuse it even more for you guys, not everything gets asked at this table needs to come back to a board meeting. We have Friday Focus, so I mean, a lot of times the information can be given to us through Friday Focus rather than coming back to a board meeting. In fact, a lot of times it's a lot more efficient for something like that to have it just put in Friday Focus, and then we all know. Sorry to confuse you even more.
I think that makes perfect sense. Yes, Mary?
I just have a question. The reason we can't discuss it is that we have to put it out to the public that we're going to discuss it? Is that the only thing, to give them a heads up? Okay, gotcha. That's all
Because people that might be interested may not be watching it right now and then would miss the discussion. Is there anything else? Hearing none, how did we do on our norms, Bree?
Great.
Short and to the point. Okay. If there's no more business to come before the board, I will adjourn the board meeting at 7:04.